Hello, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video on GW37 Football. Today we're going to be going over Game Week 35 and our team selections for that week. Also, we're going to be going over many other topics as well. We're going to start off with our Game Week 34 review and how we did within that week, as well as we're going to go over the top transfers in and the most transferred out players. As well, we're going to go over our team selections and how we're going to be lining up. Okay, so let's first dive into this week's FPL performance for my week, FPL Rich. I've managed to score a good amount of points for this week, 103 points, which is with a green arrow overall. It's very good considering we didn't use a free hit I didn't use a free hit for this week. I didn't have the free hit chip. So let's go over some of the star players within my team. First off, Pickford in goal, a total of 18 points overall. He did manage to keep a clean sheet within both games. He did really well against Liverpool. Managed to keeping a clean sheet against Liverpool. Now my back three, Mitchell is my back three. Didn't do as expected. I hoped a little bit more from Mitchell, but managed to at least keep one clean sheet for the week. And Gabriel scoring a massive 12 points for Arsenal. Arsenal also kept the double clean sheets for the game week very well. Back now into my midfield with Foden as my vice captain. He did really well this week, scoring a massive 2 goals against Brighton and getting some bonus points within that week as well. Very unfortunate in my captaincy for Salah. I know a lot of managers captain Salah this week with the double. Liverpool overall really just kind of very disappointing. Very disappointing this week with how they're playing and how they're doing. And Salah as well, kind of one of those players where in the future I'm kind of looking to transfer out. Garnacho in my midfield. Overall, my midfield did pretty bad. Palmer didn't play with an illness, and Haaland was also out with an injury. Garnacho got an assist, and Gordon didn't really do much against Crystal Palace. One of my top scorer for this week in terms of points was Mateta, scoring 2 points in both games that he did play against, both against West Ham and against Newcastle.
All right, so now going over my points for this game week 34. I did end up scoring 83 points, considering that Palmer was out with an illness and Munoz took in his spot. But Flecken with 2 points just fell short of a clean sheet up against Luton. And then my back line three, the only 2 players that really shined out was Ben White scoring very big against in that Chelsea game. He had 2 goals, and then both of the games he had a double this game week, and he held the clean sheet on both of them. Also, Mikalenko held a clean sheet. He unfortunately didn't play all the minutes up against Liverpool, but for Virgil and the Liverpool team, Mohamed Salah, as I captain him as well, did not do very well. Salah didn't score, and I think this is going to be the last chance that I'm going to give Mohamed Salah. Probably not going to be bringing him in anytime soon, as he hasn't been showing as of late. Also, having Saka didn't really do much either. And then Kai Havertz scoring 2 goals up against Chelsea. And then Garnacho with 5 points, and Isak and Darwin with 2 points. So not what I was expecting, having 7 players playing a double game week this week. I was expecting at least 100 points, but is what it is, and we move on.
So now let's look into the most transferred in players for this week. First off, we do have Isak and Gordon are becoming very popular choices, and for good reason. Newcastle's upcoming fixtures against Sheffield United, Burnley, and Brighton present a great opportunity for these players to score massive points. And Brighton, these matches are seen very favorable for Newcastle. Both Isak and Gordon are solid transfers for this week. Moving on to some other notable players within this list, let's go on to Bruno Fernandes and Guardiola of Man City. Both Bruno Fernandes is in great form for Manchester United, as he is Man United's main penalty taker. He's in his prime. He's in a prime position to gather points within their next three fixtures against Burnley, Crystal Palace, and Arsenal. Similarly, Guardiola is a player to watch within Manchester City. Their upcoming fixtures up against Forest, Wolves, and Fulham, where they are pretty much expected to dominate all their other games. And Guardiola pretty much expected to keep at least one of those within those games, keep some clean sheets.
Yeah, so now going on to the most transferred out players for FPL this week. First we have first on the list, Mohamed Salah. I think myself having him on my team, definitely not gonna be move. I'm gonna be definitely be moving away from him, especially with the price tag that he has. He hasn't, since he came back, hasn't been scoring as much. I don't think if anything, he's only scored one goal. Haven't been scoring many points. Um, and also another player we have is Saka. Had him last game week for my double game week, and hasn't also hasn't been producing as much. Having Kai Havertz, I think, has really filled in for Saka in that Arsenal team. Also Ben White, but I wasn't thinking of since I'm gonna be using my wild card this week. Um, I wasn't even thinking of possibly even bringing him back. I was just using him for this double game week that he had last week. As y'all saw, he didn't really score what he needed in points. Also, another player that I have on my team and gonna be moving away from is Darwin from Liverpool. And just overall, this Liverpool team hasn't been doing well as of late. They lost their last fixture up against Everton and basically taking them out of the title. Darwin was a good pick a couple weeks back, like probably like four game weeks back. He was producing here and there, but as of late has just been shut down. And actually, I think he's even getting replaced a little bit by Gakpo up top. So some of these players to consider for removing from your squad.
Now moving forward to the best fixtures for game week 35 on our list, we do have five teams or five matches within this list. First on our list is Spurs versus Arsenal and Chelsea. This is a crucial for anyone holding Spurs players, given the matchups. Players like Son and Vicario, and possibly a differential pick like Johnson, could be very valuable within your teams. This double game week could really influence your team's performance, given that if you have some Spurs players. Next on our list, we do have Chelsea versus Aston Villa and Spurs. Another double for this week, with many managers likely playing their wild card. I know GW37 is playing his wild card for this week. It's a strategic to consider some Chelsea players and Spurs players as well. The fixtures and the current form make the appealing choices for your lineup. And for Chelsea players, I think pretty much the best player within Chelsea is, of course, Cole Palmer. And in my opinion, I don't really see any other Chelsea player stepping up when Cole Palmer isn't playing. So I mainly, if I were to be focusing on a team, I'd probably be focused on those Spurs players. Next on our list, we do have Man City versus Forest. City has great fixtures ahead, and with the title race pretty much heating up, the clear players like Foden and returning Haaland from his injury, hopefully, and De Bruyne are expected to play many significant minutes. These players are likely to contribute heavily as the season wraps up, and making them top picks for your fantasy team. So yeah, I do believe some Man City players. De Bruyne did score today. Foden scored twice, and hopefully Haaland does come back from his injury.
So now going on to game number 4 on our list, we have Newcastle against Sheffield United, and Newcastle is going to be playing home this game, coming off of that loss against Crystal Palace. I think Newcastle is going to come back into form and definitely show against the last team of the table. Having Isak and Gordon, I think these are some good picks in this game. I know they really didn't show this last game against Crystal Palace, but Crystal Palace has also been playing well as of late, so I wouldn't blame them too much there. I am expecting like I said some good points against for Isak and Gordon. And lastly, on our list, we have Manchester United versus Burnley. Also, Manchester United is going to be playing at home against this Burnley team, another team in fighting for regulation. This one, I believe, is going to be a closer game against these two because Burnley, sometimes they do show a little fight in them. So for some players that you could maybe pinpoint for this Manchester United team is like a Garnacho or a Bruno Fernandes that's really been on fire as of late, scoring many goals. Also, possibly even like a Hoyland who's coming back into form. Last game, he scored. So I really think those are some good players to keep in mind for game week 35.
Moving forward, let's look into our game week 35 transfer plans. For me, I'm thinking of doing a -4 for this week. I do have one free transfer and 4.4 in the bank, so I do believe I'm going to be doing a -4 to kind of keep freshen up my team. My first transfer that I'm thinking of doing is switching Salah out for a Son. Salah, as we talked it on within this video, has not been in great form, and overall Liverpool have been very dreadful. And I think removing Salah to a Son, it probably will be freshening up my team a bit more and also increasing the amount of money I have in the bank. The second transfer I do plan on doing is Mitchell out to Guardiola in. Following the Salah move, we'll have some extra funds. Man City, as we said in the next three fixtures that they do have, are going to be very good for them, and I do believe Guardiola is a good defensive move within my team. So, given that, let's look into my Gaming 35 team selection and how I'll be lining up. I'm going to be lining up as a 3-5-2 with Pickford in goal. My back three of Guardiola, Pedro Porro, and Gabriel, with Pedro Porro having that double fixture against Arsenal and Chelsea. A midfield five of Foden, Son, Palmer, Garnacho, and Gordon. With my captaincy, as of right now, being on Son, it might change to Palmer or to another player. Who knows? We'll see that. I'll kind of make that decision within the deadline. And my front two of Mateta and Holland. Given that Holland I think he was injured for this game against Brighton. He didn't play. So hopefully he does come back against Forest, but who knows, if Holland doesn't come back, then Solanke does come off the bench to play for Holland's place.
All right, so now going over my game week 35 transfer plan. And as I was saying earlier, I am going to be doing my wild card for this game week. So definitely going to be changing up my whole squad, or not entirely, as I do have some returning players, but I'm definitely going to be trying to get the best out of this wild card for the remaining of the season. And for my team that I'm going to be picking in goal, I'm just going to go over it. It's going to be Flecken, going to keep Flecken from Brentford. I'm going to be bringing in Pickford and getting rid of Areola. Um, my my defense is going to be Ben White, Shar, Pedro Porro, and Reglone. With possibly, I do have a kanji as of right now, but seeing what Kai Walker did this last game, I really am considering bringing him in instead of a kanji. But definitely, possibly as FPL Rich was saying, even a Guardiola is a good pick. Someone I'm definitely thinking of someone like a defensive player from City, but going on to my midfield, I'm gonna keep Kai Havertz. Definitely gonna be bringing in Bruno Fernandes with his very good fixtures, next three fixtures. And definitely gonna be bringing in Phil Foden, who's also on fire. Another player, Cole Palmer, on fire. And with this one, I'm also considering this is gonna be a double game week player, but right as of right now, I have Johnson, but I think I'm gonna with this player, I'm still a little uncertain because I'm not sure if I even want to bring back Holland. I'm still a little iffy on if I want to bring him back. He hasn't been performing all that well. So if I don't bring back Holland, it is gonna alleviate a lot. It's gonna give me a lot of money and reservation. So possibly even bringing like giving Son a chance again, bringing him back into my team, giving him a chance, considering he also has a double game week, instead of Johnson. But if I don't, for my strikers, if I do decide to keep Holland, it's gonna be Holland, Watkins, and Mateta. But if I actually decide to actually not go for Holland, what I'm gonna be doing is gonna be Isak, a Watkins, and I'm thinking of even bringing in a Hoyland. Um, Hoyland did produce very well, good points back when I had him with my team, and Isak having a really good fixture this week. And as I was saying, I really think with not having Holland, it'll give me a lot of money and reservations that I might even bring like a star player like a Son who's worth a little bit more. And yeah, that's gonna be my wild card for this week. And now going on to my lineup for game week 35, I'm gonna be doing a 3-4-3 with possibly a 1.3 million in the bank. Uh I'm gonna be doing a Pickford and goal, a back line of three with Pedro Porro, Char, and Akanji. And having Pedro Porro in a double game week will definitely hopefully bring in some good points there. My midfield is gonna be consisted of Bruno Fernandes, Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, and Johnson. And my three up top with Mateta, Watkins, and Holland. And also, like I said, it all depends on how I end up deciding if I keep Holland or if I just want to take like a little bit of a risk. Not too much of a risk, as I mean he hasn't been performing as of late, but removing Holland and bringing in like a Isak who has a, I guess he has a good fixture. Both of them do, but Isak has been performing as of late, and it all just depends on how I decide to do that. But definitely, I think having Cole Palmer in my captaincy, um, he should be back from the illness and should be able to play both of these games and score big again.
Lastly, let's go into our game week 35 predictions for game week 35. First up, we do have West Ham against Liverpool. Given that West Ham are at home and Liverpool's bad form, I do believe this is going to be a tougher sort of matchup or even sort of matchup for both teams. But I do believe Liverpool are going to pull through and win this game 1-2.
Yeah, I think for this game, both teams coming off of a loss. Um, I'm gonna give this one to West Ham at home. I think they're gonna be able to win this one.
Now moving on to Fulham versus Crystal Palace this week. Fulham are at home. Given that Fulham did lose last week against Liverpool 1-3, and Crystal Palace being on good form, I do believe this is going to be a sort of a even for the sort of fixture. But Fulham's home form is pretty good, so I do believe this is going to be a tie 2-2.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be a tie as well, 2-2. Fulham playing a little bit better at home and Crystal Palace being coming in good form, so I'll give them a tie.
Now moving on to Man United versus Burnley. As we said, this is at home for Man United, and Man United's last game they did win against Sheffield United 4-2. A bit of a closer game, but Man United did pull through and beat Sheffield United. But given that Burnley they are at home, I do believe Man United are going to just destroy Burnley 3-1.
I think Manchester United's playing at home for this one, and I just see this game being a very close game. Burnley does, like I said, show a little bit of willpower whenever they can. But against this Manchester United team, having like a weaker defense, um, I still I'm gonna still give it to Manchester United winning this one 3-2 at home against Burnley.
Now moving on to Sheffield or Newcastle versus Sheffield United. Newcastle at home for this fixture. Both teams last week did lose their games. Newcastle did lose against Crystal Palace, and Sheffield did lose both of their games against Burnley and United. So, but Sheffield United pretty much at the very bottom of the relegation side. So I do believe Newcastle are going to come back into form a bit and win this match 3-0, keeping the clean sheet.
Yeah, I'm hoping they do keep that clean sheet as I did bring in Char for my team. Um, and also I do consider that Newcastle's going to win this one. Hopefully your Gordon and my Isaac is going to pull up, but I have it winning 2-0.
Next, moving on to Wolves versus Luton. Wolves at home for this fixture. Both teams last week did lose. Wolves lost against Bournemouth, and Luton did lose against Brentford. So both teams need a bounce back. Luton more so need a bounce back than Wolves, as they are facing the relegation side, and it is getting very close to the end of the season. So given that, I do believe it's going to be a close game, but Wolves are going to pull through, winning the game 3-2.
Yeah, both teams still a little uncertain on how their form is as of right now. Both coming off of that loss, but I think I'm gonna give it to Wolves winning this one at home 2-1.
Now moving on to Everton against Brentford. Both teams, I do believe, won their last fixtures, and Everton actually kept 2 clean sheets against their last 2 games, even against Liverpool, which was a tougher side. So I do believe they're going to continue that streak and keeping a clean sheet as well. I do believe they're going to pull through against Brentford, winning the game 1-0.
I don't think they'll be able to keep a clean sheet for this game. Brentford is a good team up top. Um, and considering, I mean, they are going to be playing away, but I'm going to give Everton a win for this one, 2-1.
Next up, we do have Aston Villa against Chelsea. Aston Villa, this time a home against Chelsea, and Chelsea have been in really bad form, losing their last match against Arsenal 5-0, which is pretty embarrassing in the London derby. Against Aston Villa, I do believe Chelsea are going to face another tough team, and they're going to get blown away out the water against Aston Villa 3-1.
They are going to be playing away this Chelsea team, which is going to make it hard, especially at Aston Villa, where Aston Villa knows how to play. But Aston Villa, I think was it I forgot who it was, but a couple game weeks they had a close game at home. Um, so for that reason, I think Chelsea is going to be able to get a tie out at away. Hopefully Palmer is back and be able to produce there. But if he's not, then I do see a little tougher. But if Palmer is there, I think it's gonna be a 2-2 draw.
Now moving on to Bournemouth against Brighton. This side, Bournemouth are at home this time. I do believe Bournemouth won one of their games in the double and lost one of their games against Aston Villa. They won against Wolves, and Brighton also lost today 4-0 against City. So Brighton are pretty much in the mud and in really bad form. So given that Bournemouth are at home for this fixture, I do believe Brighton are it's gonna be a tough game. But overall, I do believe this is gonna end in a tie 2-2.
I also have it a 2-2 draw for both of these.
Now moving on to the most entertaining game for this week, in my opinion, Spurs against Arsenal. This matchup kind of goes against pretty much one of the tougher sides that Arsenal can face within the season. Really will prove whether they get over the hurdle and win the Premier League, or they kind of stumble and fall up against Spurs. In my opinion, Spurs are not in the best form, but even so, anything can happen in the North London derby against Arsenal. And I do believe with Spurs being at home, I do believe they're going to beat Arsenal 2-1.
Both of these teams are not gonna want to lose this game, considering it's a derby. Tottenham is gonna be playing at home. They had a, f- a free they had a bye week last week. So I'm not sure if that's gonna help them. I think previously they were coming off of a loss, so we're still a little uncertain on how this Tottenham is playing consistently. Um, but I think Arsenal is just back into form, fully focused on the league now. They won't be able to keep a clean sheet, but they will be able to win this game away 3-1.
Okay, now moving on to Forest against City. Forest did dismantle Brighton today 4-0, and Forest did lose their matchup against Everton 2-0. Given that Forest are at home, and I do believe they perform a bit better when they are at home, this is going to be a bit of a tougher fixture for City, but they're still going to easily beat Forest. I do believe they're going to win this game 1-2.
City again playing away. We just saw they played today away against Brighton, and they smashed them. Um, Definitely one of the better teams in the league. I mean, they're first if it's all on them. And I do think they're gonna win this one as well, just demolishing Nottingham Forest 3-0 away.
Now moving on to our last game of this game week 35, we do have Chelsea against Spurs, another entertaining matchup. Chelsea this time at home against Spurs. Given that I predicted that Spurs are going to lose against Aston Villa for their first fixture, I do believe they're going to turn it around against Tottenham and beat Tottenham 2-1 at home for this week.
For this one, I'm just gonna go with a tie, 3-3. Two teams where they could play good any game, play bad the next game. So I just think it's going to be a 3-3 draw for both of these. That's all we have for this video. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next week.